Okay, let's go to question 3. Question 3 is on this parallelogram class. Okay, at this point, parallelogram class will be just a standalone class on its own. Okay, because there isn't any subclasses yet. We will do the subclasses for rectangle and rhombus later on. So parallelogram is just a class by itself. So it's pretty much the same as what we have been doing in our question 1 and question 2. Okay, so let's get going. In your cosmology template, if you have not refreshed your cosmology, please change your import statement for max. Change it to from max import asterisk. Okay, so that you can follow my code. Okay, so in this question, our parallelogram, there are three attributes: base, side, and angle. Base, side, and angle. So when we do our code for the class parallelogram, when we do the constructor, okay, this is called the constructor, the init, and then don't forget the self, and then followed by our three attributes: the base, the side, and the angle. Okay, so these are the three input that the user must provide. Okay, so as usual, self dot base equal to base, self dot side equal to side, dot angle equal to angle. Okay, and then we have the all the accessor, which is the getter. So define our get base. Don't forget the self. Okay, return the self dot base. Okay, and I'm going to copy this for get side, get angle, self dot side, self dot angle. This is get angle. Okay, so we have our three getter, and then we also need to have our setter. Okay, so I'm going to copy the getter and then setter, change all the get to set. And when you want to set the base, this is the old base. The old base will now have to be equal to becomes the new base. Okay, so who provide the new base? The user must provide the new base when they use the setter. Okay, and same thing for the site. There must be a new site. Similarly, the new angle, the self dot angle is the old angle, so the old angle now will become the okay. So we are done with all this getter and setter. Let's continue. Refer to the question itself. You still need to have the calculate perimeter, calculate area is regular. Okay, so okay, so it's perfectly okay to just to put a pass first, then fill in the codes later on. Calculate the area, and then is regular. Can. Okay, so how do we calculate the perimeter? We just need to add the side. So the side, the base and the side we add together, right? But not so simple. Now we don't say base. We say self dot base. Okay. We don't say side. We say self dot side. Okay. And we add them together, and uh, there are four-sided for a parallelogram. So we need to take these two and multiply by 2 and just return this value as the perimeter. Done. How about area? Calculating the area of the parallelogram. Okay, some of you, I mean, if you have not followed on your max, then you have problem, right? Okay, so the formula is given to you. The area of perimeter is the base times height. What is the height? Height is actually side times sine of the angle. The only problem is that the angle must be a radian, must be in radian. Okay, so we need to do that. Okay, so here the area of parallelogram is equal to that. I can copy over here and then put it over here. Okay, so I'm going to return this area. The problem is the angle. The angle must be in radian. So how do I get the angle in radian? Is given here. Angle in radian. Okay, can. So we make use of the radian function in our max module, and we make use of the sine in our max module. The problem with here, the base is not a base, it's self dot base, and then the side is a self dot side. Likewise, for the angle itself, it is self dot angle, and this angle is already in degree. So delete away this one, otherwise this variable not found. Okay, so we have the calculate. Okay, from our previous question, we learned that a polygon is regular if the sides are equal. Okay, uh, for the benefit of those who may not be here yesterday, so let me use this code. If the self dot base is equal to the self dot side, then you can return true, else return false. Okay, I'm pretty okay if you want to write your code this way, but otherwise, a simpler way of writing the code would be just return this. Okay, so basically it checks whether the self.base and self.side are they equal. If they are equal, then this will be a true. This whole uh, check will be true. If they are not equal, then it will be a false, so you return false. Okay, so more or less we have our code ready to run, and then we check see whether there's any typo error, and I was cutting to make sure it's running. Okay, there's a typo error. Uh, return self. No, there shouldn't be a code here. Okay, let's run it again. Okay, so what do we have? We have a parallelogram. The base is 3, the side is 4. How do I know the base is 3? Now, over here in my constructor, my first user input is a base. Second one is the side. Okay, so I call this the base. That's one. Second one is the side. Okay, so 3 is a base. So when I get base, when I get the side, that's 4. I get the base, that's 3. I get the angle, that's 90 degrees. Okay, and then if I were to set the base to 4, so now the base is 4. So it's both 4, 4 now. And then I get the base is 4. Okay, and then of course the perimeter, because all sides are 4 now, and then the area, we can get the area, and then all the sides are 4 now, so that's why it's regular. Okay, so we have the parallelogram. Okay, no big deal, something that we have done before in our previous question. Okay, at this point let me pause for a while. Any question? Okay, if no question, let me continue. Now, question 4, I'm going to break into two parts. Because question 4, you are required to write the rectangle subclass and also the rhombus subclass. So I'm going to divide into two parts and then deal with one by one first. Okay, for the case of the rectangle subclass, now we need to inherit. Okay, let's go to question 4 here. Okay, let me go back to the diagram. Okay, so the rectangle is going to inherit from the parallelogram. Okay, now then we go to question 4. Now, question 4, take a look at the rectangle subclass. How many attributes are there? It will inherit the base, side, and angle, the same three attributes from the parents class. except that the angle is set to 90 degrees. Okay, so now we want to do the inheritance. How do we do the inheritance? Okay, so we write a class, okay, of this rectangle. Watch out the spelling, rectangle is capital L R, and then, okay, this rectangle is inheriting from parallelogram. Okay, so this is the first time that you're writing this. The rectangle inherits from the parallelogram class. Okay, now here comes the constructor. What is a constructor? The constructor is a init underscore, and then you have the self, and then okay, now when when you do this constructor is for the rectangle. Okay, you are not doing the constructor for the parallelogram. Why? Because parallelogram have its own constructor. This is parallelogram's constructor. It's already written. Okay or not? Now, then when you write the rectangle must have its own constructor. Now, then you ask yourself, if I want to create a rectangle, what are the inputs do I need to put in? Okay, so from here, when you create a rectangle, you put in 3 and 4. So for now, I just take any one side. I just take 3 as the side, 3 as the base, 4 as the side. Okay, cannot. Let me see whether is there a rectangle base and side. Correct, base and side. Okay, so base and side. So 3 is the base, 4 is the side. So there are two argument. So down here the constructor must have the base and the side. Okay, now so this is the constructor for the rectangle. This is the constructor for the rectangle. I note here constructor for the rectangle object. Okay, constructor for the rectangle object. Can okay, you use the class, you create an object. I can say that. Okay, so now the thing is that I want to use the parallelogram. Right, this constructor, I'm going to use a parallelogram to help me construct a rectangle. So how do I do that? I super, okay, this super is actually the parallelogram. Okay, the super class, I use the constructor in the super class, and inside the super class, how many how many argument does it need? Okay, take a look at the parents class, the parallelogram. Parallelogram require base, side, angle, 3. So it required the base, side, and angle. So the first one, where do you get the base? The base will be the same base that the user input. So this will be the base that the user input. Okay, and this is the side where the user input. So I put in the side. And then the third one is the angle. The question says that we set the angle to 90 degrees for a case of rectangle. Okay, so that's 90. Now, if you were to call this the R base and the R side, then here must be the R base and R side. Okay, if I want to distinguish the rectangle base and the parallelogram base. Okay, but there's no real need to. What I'm saying is that whatever the user input as 3 is the base. That's for the R base. This R base will be fit into the constructor of the parents class. Can or not? Okay, so for simplicity, let me keep to the side and base as it is without the R. Okay, so by this statement, we are inheriting from the parent already. Parallelogram, okay, parallelogram, okay. Okay, so so when we say that we have inherited from the parents class, what do we mean? It means that all the method that is available in the parents class is now available for use. Okay, down here, do you see any other method? Don't have, right? For rectangle, there's no method, right? Okay, so things like get side, get base, get angle. Where does it come from? It comes from the parent, right? Down here, get base, get side, get angle. Okay, so without writing a single code for the rectangle, I want to see whether can I make use of that. Okay, let me do a comment of this field first. Okay, let's run to make sure the code is running. There. So the side is 4, the base is 3, the angle is 90 degrees. Now remember I mentioned this yesterday, the purpose of inheritance, so that there is a code reusability. Whatever code that we have written in the parallelogram class is being now used in the rectangle class without you having to write it all over again. So without inheritance, you have to copy this set of code. No? You have to copy all these sets and gets. Okay? And the set and the getter. This whole lot of code you have to copy and then bring it down and copy together with the rectangle here. Okay? I didn't test the setter. Let's try to test the setter. Okay? If I set the base to 5, and then so that I have the 5 and 4, 4 is the side. Okay, let's take a look. Okay, so my base is now become 5. Okay, likewise the other utility, getting perimeter, getting area, and check whether is it a regular or not. All this can be done. Okay, is regular, there's a bracket missing. Let's run. Okay, so it's not regular because one side is 5, one side is 4. Cannot. So I'm going to pause here for a while. Take a look how simple it is to inherit from the parents class. Okay, bear in mind the first line, is the constructor for this subclass. The second line, okay, is the one that you inherit from the parents class. And because a parent has 3 arguments, you need to provide 3 arguments. The first line, there are 2 arguments. Why? Because when you create the object, the user need to provide the 2 values for the attributes, the base and the side. Okay, I'm going to pause here for a while. Any question? Okay, so we can copy the code from this rectangle subclass, and I'm going to do the rhombus subclass here. Okay, so this one I'll call it as rhombus, and then when you create a rhombus object, you need to provide the side and the angle. So this is the side and the angle. Okay, when you create a rhombus, you need to have a side and angle. Okay, and then when you fit into the parents class, this is the rhombus object. When you fit to the parents class, which is a parallelogram, the parents class still need the 3 things. It still need the base, side, and angle. Okay, let me put it here, just a reminder. We need these 3 things because the parent class has 3 arguments: base, side, and angle. So the base, but we don't have a base, we only have a side. Now you remember that rhombus have all sides equal. So whether you call that a side, you call that a base, they are actually the same. So this base is actually the side. So I just give him the side. Okay. Then this side is still the side. So I have a side side. So because it's side side, both sides are the same. And ends up all the 4 sides are the same. Then the angle is the angle. Okay. So in doing that, straight away, I have inherited all the methods from the parents class, the parallelogram already. Okay, can. So it's very similar to the rectangle one. Let's give a try to make sure that our rhombus indeed is working. I'm going to create a rhombus. I'm going to get the side. I'm going to get the base. I'm going to get the angle. The rest of the thing, I'm not going to do that yet, okay? I also can get the perimeter. I also can calculate the area. Okay, let's run. Okay, so I have the side, two sides are the same, the angle 120 degrees, and then the perimeter is 12. Why is it 12? Because all sides are 3, 4 times 3, that's 12. And then the area, well, we have to trust the calculation, the Python calculation for the area. It is correct. If not, you can use your GC and try to see whether you calculate the rhombus correctly or not. Okay, and same thing, if we do a sector, right? Okay, the side is now changed to 4, 4. Okay, and then the perimeter, because it's 4 wafers, 3. Okay, here's a problem with it. Now, uh, if I were to print and try to get the base, here comes the problem. Okay, I try to get the base. You take a look. Now, originally the side is 3, so both the side and the base are 3, 3. Now, then I go and change Ichihan, I go and change the side to 4. Then my base is still 3. My base is 3, my side is 4. Is this a rhombus? No, right? This is not a rhombus already because rhombus, all 4 sides must be equal. So, so there is something wrong, when I change the side, the base don't get changed. Okay? So that is a problem by itself. That's why the perimeter end up as 14. Okay? If all sides are equal, I would expect my perimeter to be 16. Cannot. So rhombus is not as simple as a rectangle. We need to take care of this issue about the base. We need to take care of this issue about the base, which is being mentioned in the question here, right? Both the base and the side attributes must have the same value. Hence, the set side must update both the base and the side. Okay, it must update both the base and the side attributes. There is no such thing as base in the rhombus object. So the set base and get base must somehow output something. Okay, so we don't want to get ourselves into trouble when we do the set base set the site, and then the base not updated, and then when we try to look for base, there's no such thing as a base. Okay, so we somehow want to disable the set base and get base. Okay, so there are 3 things that we want to do. Let me get to it first. Okay, so I'm going to do some changes. Define set site. Okay, when we set the site, the self.site must be equal to the new site. Okay, who gives the new site? The user must give the new site. Okay, but not so simple because we also want the base to be the same value. So self.base must also equal to the same new site. Cannot. So when we supply a new site, both the base and the site get changed. Okay, so let's run this code and see whether our base and our site now still remains the same as 4, 4 or not, and then our parameter becomes 16. Okay, let's run this code. Okay, 4, 4, 16. So now our base get changed. Can or not? Now, here, this set site is inside the rhombus class. In the parents class, there is also a set site, but they behave differently. In the parents class, when you do a set site, you only change the site. But in the subclass, when you do a set site, it changes both the site and the base. So the set site method behave differently. This is what we call polymorphism. Polymorphism. The same method name, both in the parent class and the subclass, but the subclass behave differently. This is called polymorphism. That's why this topic that we are dealing with is called inheritance and polymorphism. Can? So after settling the set side, now we want to settle this thing called the get base. There's no such thing called get base, right? Okay, so get base self. We want to say something like there is no base, right? Cannot get base and set base. We will say something like there is no base. Okay, here. So I print there is no base. Okay, and then for the case of the set base, and you try to give him a new base, uh, but then they'll still tell you there's no base. Okay, so down here when we try to do a set base, okay, set base to some crazy number. Okay, let's take a look. There is no such base. Okay, there is no base, and all these get base, all these now will say there is no base already. Okay, we only have side. Okay, so the get base and the set base somehow overrides the parents class get base and set base. You can also say that this is a polymorphism. Okay, cannot. Um, Here, the last piece of code that we need to put in is that under the method, other than inheriting all the methods from the parents class, I need to have an additional method called is square. Only in Roombas, we want to check whether is it a square or not. Okay, so down here, I have an additional method called is square. Okay, how do you know whether a rhombus is a square or not? Okay, a rhombus is a square when the angle is equal to 90 degrees. Cannot? We don't have to care about the side already because the side and the base are the same, so all the four sides are the same. So we just need to check the angle. Okay, so it returns that is square is whether true or false equal to 90 degrees. Cannot? Okay, so let me run, check whether is it square to make sure that it's working. It's a false. Why is it a false? Oh, because our rhombus is a 120 degrees, if I'm not wrong. Yes, 120 degrees. Okay, it's not 90 degrees. They change it to 90 degrees, it will become a true. Okay, can. Now, I want to move on to the last question, which is question 5. Okay, uh, I have talked, I mentioned about this polymorphism already. Um, you have the same method name in the subclass that behave differently from the parents class. Now, in the case of the calculating area, right? Now let's take a look and see how the parents calculate area. Okay, the parents are old-fashioned, very old-fashioned. The parents class are parallelogram. Calculate area by using what? Based on sine of the angle. So this is very old school. This will work only for works for parallelogram. Okay, this also work for the special case of a rectangle. But in the case of rectangle, to find the area, we can use a simpler method. We can use a simpler method. So down here, I define calculate area for the rectangle. Okay. So over here, how do you calculate the area of a rectangle? Tell me. Come on, you all been listening too much. You all don't not actively thinking. How do you calculate area of a rectangle? Do you knew?
Base times
Huh?
height.
Sorry?
Base times height.
Yeah, base and height. But then let's remember, in our question here, the class, we are using base and side. So don't change the attribute name. So we simply just need to return the base times the side. But not so simple. We need to call it the self dot side. Okay, and then also the self dot base. Cannot dot. Okay, so instead of using the complicated formula for the calculate area like the parallelogram, the parents class, now in the rectangle class we have a simpler method. Okay, to calculate the area. Okay, cannot. So once we have that, let's check that the area is still correct. Now the last one is regular, the last second one is calculate area. Let's run this. Okay, so the area is 20 because it's 5 times 4. Okay, the base and the side has the base has changed to 5, the side is still 3, 5, 4. Sorry, side is still 4, and then the base is 5. So 5 times 4, that's 20. So, okay, so now when you calculate the area, it is actually using this method, not the parents method. It's using the rectangle method. Can or not? Okay. So question 5, just a sort of a kind of summary lah, to what polymorphism is. Because in question 4 we also do a bit of the polymorphism already when we change the side or we disable the base and get base, set base, and all that thing. Okay, that's polymorphism. Okay, I'm going to pause here.